Sirens wailed across the global monitoring stations as Earth's atmospheric sensors detected another dangerous drop in oxygen levels. In the United Nations Space Command Center, located deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Captain Daho Park's fingers danced across the holographic controls, his eyes fixed on the rapidly changing numbers. The room buzzed with tension as technicians rushed between stations, their faces illuminated by the pulsing red emergency lights. "Sir, Seoul Station reports another 2% decrease in atmospheric oxygen," called out one of the operators. "Beijing, New York, and London are confirming similar readings." Daho rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of the impossible data before him. For 3 weeks, they had watched helplessly as Earth's oxygen levels steadily declined. At first, they had blamed faulty sensors, then climate change, but now they faced a terrifying reality. Something was actively removing oxygen from their atmosphere. Dr. Jin Lee burst through the command center's double doors, her usually neat appearance disheveled from hours of nonstop work. Her tablet computer clutched tightly against her chest. She rushed straight to Daho's station, ignoring the curious glances from other personnel. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. Jin's fingers flew across her tablet, transferring data to the main display screen. "We've been scanning the wrong frequencies. Look at these readings from the high-orbit satellites." The massive screen filled with strange energy signatures, showing what appeared to be massive distortions in the upper atmosphere. As Jin adjusted the parameters, the distortions resolved into distinct shapes, enormous crystalline structures, each several kilometers long, hovering at the edge of space. "They're ships," Jin whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of equipment. "Massive ships, using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. We've been looking right through them for weeks." Daho stared at the images, his military training kicking in as he analyzed their tactical situation. "How many?" "We've identified 17 distinct vessels so far," Jin replied, bringing up detailed scans. "They're positioned strategically around the planet, concentrated over areas with the highest oxygen density. The energy readings suggest they're using some form of atmospheric extraction technology we've never seen before." The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't facing a natural disaster or technical malfunction. Earth was under attack. Within hours, the world's major powers convened an emergency session. Military forces worldwide were placed on high alert, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless against an enemy capable of such advanced technology. 3 days later, the Vaxari made their presence known. Their arrival was preceded by a worldwide communications broadcast that overrode every electronic device on Earth. The aliens appeared on screens everywhere. Tall, elegant beings with skin so transparent their internal organs were faintly visible, pulsing with an otherworldly bioluminescence. Their ambassador, who called himself the first speaker, addressed humanity in perfect English, though his mouth never moved. Instead, a small device at his throat pulsed with each word. "People of Earth," the first speaker began, his tone carrying the same casual dismissal one might use when addressing insects. "We have observed your civilization for some time. Your atmosphere contains a resource vital to advanced spacefaring species, pure oxygen. We have determined that your primitive society wastes this precious commodity through inefficient biological processes and industrial pollution." In the command center, Daho watched the broadcast with clenched fists as the alien continued his speech. Besides him, Jin frantically recorded data about their visitors, her scientific curiosity warring with her fear. "We are the Vaxari, guardians of resource distribution across this sector of space. Your protests regarding our harvest operations are noted but irrelevant. Your species is barely space-capable, still burning chemical fuels to achieve orbit. You have no standing to challenge our authority in these matters." The first speaker's image zoomed out, revealing more of his kind standing in what appeared to be a vast crystalline chamber. "We will continue our extraction operations. If you attempt to interfere, we will simply accelerate the process. Be grateful we are leaving you enough oxygen to survive. Not all species receive such consideration. As the broadcast ended, emergency alarms began blaring across the command center. The oxygen extraction rate had doubled, sending global levels plummeting even faster. "Captain," Jin called out, her voice tight with concern. "At this rate, we have less than 6 months before atmospheric oxygen drops below the minimum level needed to sustain human life at sea level. We need to do something." Daeho stood up straight, his military bearing more pronounced than ever. "Get me a secure line to the Joint Chiefs. It's time to tell them about Project Dreadnought." Jin's eyes widened in recognition of the classified code name. Like many top scientists, she had heard whispers about a secret space program, hidden from public view for decades. If those rumors were true, humanity might have one last card to play. As Daeho waited for the secure line to connect, he watched the massive Vaxari ships on the main screen, their crystalline structures now clearly visible as they pulsed with stolen oxygen. The aliens had badly miscalculated if they thought humanity would quietly accept extinction. They were about to learn why humans had survived every catastrophe nature had thrown at them. When backed into a corner, humanity didn't just fight back. They fought to win. The massive steel doors of Shelter Complex 47 sealed shut with a heavy thud, locking another 10,000 survivors safely underground. Han-Sol Kim watched from the observation deck as families carried what little they could bring into their new home. 6 months had passed since the Vaxari began stealing Earth's oxygen, and humanity had been forced to retreat beneath the ground like ants before a storm. As director of the Emergency Earth Coalition, Han-Sol carried the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. Every day, more people needed evacuation to the underground shelters as the air above grew thinner. They had already lost millions in the poorer nations, where shelter construction couldn't keep pace with the crisis. Director Kim called Myra Song, his chief of staff. She hurried across the deck, tablet in hand. "The latest atmospheric readings are in. We're down to 14% oxygen at sea level. The Vaxari are accelerating their harvest." Han-Sol nodded grimly. At current rates, the surface would be uninhabitable within weeks. Even their underground shelters were just a temporary solution. They could recycle air for months, maybe years, but not indefinitely. "How many are we still losing?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. "About 30,000 per day," Mayray replied softly. "Mostly in rural areas and developing nations. The rescue teams can't reach everyone in time." Han-Sol pressed his forehead against the cold glass of the observation window. Below, he watched as shelter staff directed new arrivals to their assigned quarters. Children clutched stuffed animals while their parents carried bags containing their entire lives. The lucky ones, he thought. At least they had made it. "Sir," Mayray said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper, "it's time. The Council has given authorization to activate the ARC initiative." Han-Sol straightened immediately, his exhaustion forgotten. "They're sure. Once we reveal this, we're out of options," Mayray said. "The surface will be uninhabitable in 23 days. It's now or never." They left the observation deck and made their way to a restricted elevator at the back of the complex. Han-Sol pressed his palm to the scanner while Mayray underwent a retinal scan. The elevator, disguised as a maintenance shaft, descended far deeper than any shelter level. "How many people know about this?" Han-Sol asked as they dropped past the 2-kilometer mark. "Less than 100 worldwide," Mayray answered. "Each major nation has a facility like this one, but only a handful of people know about more than their own site." The compartmentalization was necessary after the 76 incident. The elevator finally stopped, 5 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface. The doors opened to reveal something that shouldn't exist, a vast underground cavern stretching for kilometers in every direction. Powerful lights illuminated what appeared to be a massive shipyard, where gleaming vessels of impossible size waited in their construction cradles. Han-Sol stepped out, his mouth dry. He had known about the project, of course. It was why he had been chosen as coalition director. But seeing it in person was something else entirely. "How long have we been building these?" he asked, gazing up at the nearest ship. Its hull was easily half a kilometer long, bristling with weapons that looked more advanced than anything humanity had officially developed. "Since the first alien crash in 1976, Mayray replied, leading him along a catwalk that offered a better view. "When that scout ship went down in Siberia, it changed everything. The major powers realized we weren't alone, and we weren't safe. Instead of fighting each other, they created the ARC Initiative, a secret program to prepare humanity for the day we'd need to defend ourselves." Workers in sealed suits moved across the ship's hulls, performing final adjustments. Each vessel represented decades of reverse-engineered alien technology combined with human innovation. "The Vaxeri think we're primitive," Mayray continued, "that we're still struggling with chemical rockets and basic spaceflight. Everything they've seen of our space program has been carefully staged to maintain that illusion. That these ships," she gestured at the fleet before them, "these can match anything they have." Hansol studied the nearest vessel more carefully. Its design was clearly influenced by human naval architecture, but the technology was like nothing he had ever seen. Ghostly fields of energy rippled across its hull, and its engines pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to bend space around them. "How many ships? How many crews?" 12 vessels completed worldwide, Mayray said. "We've been training crews in secret for years, using simulator pods disguised as medical equipment in the major military academies. The crews are ready. They'd been preparing for this their entire careers, even if most of them didn't know it until recently." A distant alarm echoed through the cavern. More bad news from the surface, no doubt. They were running out of time. "The Vaxeri gave us 6 months because they thought we were helpless," Hansol said, his voice hardening with resolve. "They thought we'd just lie down and die. Instead, they gave us exactly the time we needed to finish our preparations." Mayray nodded, a fierce smile crossing her face. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to take punch after punch and come back stronger. The Vaxeri are about to learn that the hard way." Hansol took one last look at the secret fleet, humanity's last, best hope for survival. "Begin the launch sequence," he ordered. "It's time to show our visitors what humanity is really capable of." Commander Sun Wukang's footsteps echoed through the massive corridors of Earth's most advanced warship. The Terra's Vengeance stretched over half a kilometer from bow to stern, its sleek hull hiding weapons that would have seemed like magic just decades ago. Behind her, Lieutenant Tai Young Choi struggled to keep pace while managing multiple system reports on his tablet. "Hull integrity at optimal levels," Tai Young reported, his fingers dancing across the screen. "Neural interface systems are showing green across all stations. Weapon systems currently at 89% efficiency and climbing." Sun Wu nodded, her hand trailing along the metallic wall as they walked. The ship felt alive under her touch, humming with power from technologies humanity had spent nearly 50 years trying to understand. Every piece of the vessel represented countless hours of research, reverse engineering, and often deadly trial and error. "Show me the crew readiness reports," she ordered, pausing at a viewport that overlooked the massive underground chamber. 5 other dreadnoughts were visible from this position, each in various stages of final preparation. The sight still took her breath away. "All bridge crew have completed final neural interface certification," Tai Young said, pulling up the relevant data. "Medical reports some minor headaches and nosebleeds during deep sync tests, but nothing outside expected parameters." The neural interface system was perhaps their greatest achievement and their biggest risk. Reversed engineered from the control systems of the crashed alien vessel in '76, it allowed human operators to connect directly with the ship's systems. The interface turned the massive vessel into an extension of the crew's own bodies, giving them reaction times and control that would be impossible through conventional means. "And the weapons?" Sun Wu asked, continuing their inspection tour. They entered the main bridge, where technicians were running final checks on the neural interface pods that lined the walls. The plasma cannons are fully operational, Tai Young reported. Quantum torpedo systems are online but still calibrating. The biggest concern is the phase shield. We're still seeing power fluctuations during high-stress simulations. Sun Wu settled into the commander's neural pod, feeling the familiar tingle as the interface systems recognized her presence. The pod's organic-looking controls wrapped around her body like a second skin. "Initialize Level 1 interface," she ordered. The pod hummed to life, and Sun Wu felt her consciousness expand as the ship's systems merged with her own awareness. Through the neural link, she could feel every part of the massive vessel, from the thrum of its antimatter reactors to the subtle adjustments of its gravitational stabilizers. "Commander," one of the technicians called out, "we're picking up some unusual activity in your neural patterns." "It's fine," Sun Wu assured them, though sweat beaded on her forehead. The neural interface was demanding, designed for alien minds rather than human ones. Even after years of training, linking with the ship felt like trying to force her consciousness through a keyhole. A sudden alert blared through the bridge. Sun Wu disengaged from the neural pod, her head spinning as her awareness snapped back to normal size. "Report," she barked. "Message from command," Tai Young announced. "The Vaxeri have doubled their oxygen extraction rate. Surface oxygen levels are dropping faster than predicted. We're being ordered to accelerate our launch schedule." Sun Wu stood, ignoring the lingering dizziness from the neural interface. "How long do we have?" 3 days until oxygen levels become critically low at sea level. Maybe 5 days until global atmospheric collapse." The commander walked to the main viewport, studying the other dreadnoughts. They had planned for 2 more weeks of testing and crew integration. Now they would have to launch with systems barely tested and crews still adjusting to the neural interfaces. "Send the order to all departments," she said finally. "Begin immediate launch preparations. I want all crews in full neural sync within 6 hours. We're taking the fight to them." The bridge erupted into activity. Similar scenes played out across all 6 dreadnoughts as humanity's secret fleet prepared for war. They had one chance at this, their first and possibly last stand against an advanced alien civilization that saw them as little more than parasites. "Tai Young," Sun Wu called to her XO, "get me a direct line to the other dreadnought commanders. We need to coordinate our attack plan." As her crew rushed to prepare for launch, Sun Wu allowed herself a small smile. The Vaxeri thought they were harvesting oxygen from a helpless primitive species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had spent half a century preparing for this moment, building weapons and training crews in absolute secrecy. Now it was time to show the galaxy exactly what humans were capable of when pushed too far. The Terra's vengeance would live up to its name, and the Vaxeri would learn that humans were anything but primitive. "All hands," Sun Wu announced over the ship-wide comm. "This is your commander. In 3 days, we launch to defend our world. Everything we've trained for, everything we've built, has been for this moment. The enemy thinks we're helpless. Let's show them just how wrong they are." In the darkness of space, 3 massive shapes emerged from Earth's atmosphere, their hulls gleaming under the starlight. The Terra's Vengeance took point position, flanked by the Pacific Wrath and Atlantic Thunder. Through her neural interface, Commander Sun Wukang could feel every vibration, every power fluctuation of her ship, as if it were her own body. "All ships reporting ready," Lieutenant Ji-Hoo Park announced from the tactical station. "Neural synchronization at optimal levels across all vessels." The 3 human dreadnoughts approached their targets silently. Above them, 3 Vaxeri harvesting ships hung in high orbit, their crystalline structures pulsing with stolen oxygen from Earth's atmosphere. The alien vessels were beautiful in their own way, like massive geometric sculptures carved from living crystal. No reaction from the enemy vessels, Ji-Hoo reported, his voice tense with anticipation. "They're not even running defensive screens. Long-range scans show minimal power to their weapon systems." Sun Wu allowed herself a grim smile. Through the neural interface, she shared tactical data with the other Dreadnought commanders. The Vaxaries' arrogance would be their undoing. They had never bothered to hide their ships properly, believing Earth's technology too primitive to pose any threat. All ships, assume attack positions, Sun Wu ordered. Through her expanded consciousness, she felt the other Dreadnoughts move into perfect formation. Charge main weapons. Remember your training. We hit hard and fast. The human ships carried weapons reversed engineered from multiple alien crashes, modified and improved by decades of secret research. Each Dreadnought bristled with plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and phase disruptors specifically designed to target crystalline structures. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Jehu announced. Still no reaction from the Vaxari ships. Their sensors probably dismissed the approaching Dreadnoughts as harmless space debris. Target locked on primary harvester, reported the weapons officer. Secondary targets designated for Pacific Wrath and Atlantic Thunder. Sun Wu took a deep breath, feeling the ship's anticipation mirror her own through the neural link. Humanity's first space battle was about to begin. Everything they had built, everything they had prepared for, came down to this moment. All ships, fire on my mark, she ordered. Through the neural interface, she fine-tuned the targeting solutions, adjusting for the subtle movements of the Vaxari vessels. 3, 2, 1. Fire. The Terra's vengeance shuddered as its main weapons unleashed their fury. Streams of superheated plasma, followed by quantum torpedoes, streaked across space toward the unsuspecting Vaxari ship. Pacific Wrath and Atlantic Thunder fired simultaneously, their combined barrage lighting up Earth's orbit like new stars. The first hits struck home before the Vaxari even registered the attack. The plasma beams struck the crystalline hull of the lead harvester, instantly superheating and fracturing its structure. Quantum torpedoes followed, their warheads designed to disrupt the atomic bonds holding the crystal together. Direct hits. Jehu shouted. Major damage to primary target. They're beginning emergency power-up sequences. But it was too late for the Vaxari. Their ships, designed for harvesting operations rather than combat, were caught completely unprepared. The lead vessel shattered like glass, fragments of crystal spinning off into space as its power core went critical. Pacific Wrath reports successful hit on second target, Jehu reported. Atlantic Thunder engaging the third harvester. Enemy vessels attempting to raise shields, but their power systems are still cold. Through the neural interface, Sun Wu coordinated the Dreadnought's movements with inhuman precision. The human ships danced through space, their movements synchronized perfectly as they pressed their advantage. More weapons fire lashed out, systematically destroying the Vaxari vessel's key systems. Second target destroyed, came the report. Third target attempting to retreat. Not today, Sun Wu growled. She directed the Terra's vengeance into an attack run, feeling the ship respond as naturally as her own limbs. A final barrage of plasma fire caught the fleeing Vaxari ship, breaking its back in a spectacular explosion. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. When the energy discharges faded, 3 of Earth's oxygen harvesters had been reduced to floating debris. All 3 human dreadnoughts remained intact, their shields having easily deflected the few desperate shots the Vaxari managed to fire. Damage report, Sun Wu ordered, though the neural interface already told her their losses were minimal. Minor shield depletion on all vessels, Jehu reported. No hull breaches, no casualties. Commander, we did it. We actually did it. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly spreading through all 3 ships. They had just won humanity's first space battle, destroying 3 advanced alien vessels with minimal damage to their own ships. But Sun Wu's celebration was short-lived. Through the neural interface, she monitored the long-range sensors. Somewhere out there, the main Vaxari fleet would be receiving news of this attack. Their response would be swift and terrible. Send word to command, she ordered. First strike successful. All ships returning to Earth orbit to prepare for counterattack. The real battle is about to begin. As the Dreadnoughts turned homeward, The debris of the Vaxari ships glittered in the sunlight, a warning to any who would threaten Earth. Humanity had thrown down the gauntlet. Now they had to be ready for the response. The Emergency Earth Coalition's war room fell silent as Admiral Yuna Cho activated the holographic display. Hundreds of red dots appeared, spreading across the three-dimensional map of the solar system like a swarm of angry wasps. Each dot represented a Vaxari warship heading toward Earth. Long-range sensors detected their fleet crossing the Kuiper Belt 12 hours ago. The Admiral explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. At their current speed, they'll reach Mars orbit in 72 hours. Commander Sunwoo studied the tactical display from her position at the conference table. The Vaxari fleet was massive, far larger than their initial intelligence had suggested. But something about their formation caught her attention. They're moving in a standard crystal lattice formation, she noted, pointing to the pattern. Just like their ship's structure. They never deviate from their patterns, even in fleet movements. Predictable, commented Captain Minho of the Pacific Wrath. Every move they make follows the same geometric principles they use in their technology. It's their weakness. The human fleet had grown considerably since their first strike. 6 more dreadnoughts had been completed and crewed in the weeks following their initial victory. The Atlantic Storm, Pacific Fury, Arctic Valor, Indian Thunder, Mediterranean Lightning, and Southern Cross now joined their sister ships in Earth's defense. Show them our new modifications, Sunwoo requested. Admiral Cho nodded and updated the display. The 12 human dreadnoughts appeared as blue markers, each now sporting significant changes to their original design. We've adapted our weapons based on data from the first engagement, the Admiral explained. The crystalline nature of their ships makes them vulnerable to specific resonance frequencies. Our new sonic disruptors should shatter their hulls like wine glasses in an opera. The gathered commanders watched as simulation data played across the display. The new weapons had been tested on salvaged Vaxari debris, showing promising results. Their arrogance works in our favor, Sunwoo added. They still think we're primitive savages who got lucky. They don't realize we've been studying their technology for decades. Lieutenant Ji-Hoo Park, recently promoted after the first battle, brought up detailed scans of the approaching fleet. They're using the same ship designs we've already encountered. No significant modifications or adaptations to their vessels. Of course not, Admiral Cho said with a slight smile. Why would they adapt? In their minds, we're barely worth the effort of crushing. They don't realize that humans are at our most dangerous when backed into a corner. The room's atmosphere shifted from tense to determined as the commanders reviewed their battle plans. Unlike the Vaxari's rigid formations, human tactics relied on flexibility and unconventional thinking. We've prepared a few surprises for them, Sunwoo said, activating her own data feed. Show them Project Slingshot. New holographic elements appeared, showing a complex series of gravitational calculations. The plan called for using the inner planet's gravity wells in ways the Vaxari would never expect. Their crystal ships are incredibly strong, she explained, but they're also brittle under the right conditions. Rapid gravitational shifts will stress their structure. Combined with our new weapons, it's risky, Admiral Cho cautioned. Using planetary gravity wells for combat maneuvers hasn't been tested outside simulations. Neither had space combat until we destroy their harvesters, Sunwoo countered. We need every advantage we can get. The Vaxari fight like machines, following preset patterns. We'll fight like humans, adaptable, unpredictable, and willing to try the impossible. The assembled commanders spent the next hours refining their strategy. Each dreadnought would operate independently while maintaining coordination through their neural interfaces. The Vaxari's rigid formation would work against them, making their movements predictable. One final piece of news, Admiral Cho announced as the meeting concluded. Our scientists have finished analyzing the oxygen they were harvesting. We know why they need it, and it might give us another advantage. The revelation sparked intense discussion among the commanders. Understanding their enemy's motivation could be as valuable as any weapon. "Let them come," Sun Wu said, standing to address her fellow commanders. "They think they're coming to crush a primitive species. Instead, they'll learn why humanity has survived every crisis we've ever faced. We adapt, we improvise, and we never, ever give up." As the commanders dispersed to their ships, the holographic display continued tracking the approaching Vaxeri fleet. Humanity's greatest battle was about to begin. And this time, Earth's defenders were ready. The aliens would learn that sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones you underestimate. Captain Minji Ryu watched through the neural interface as another Vaxeri cruiser shattered under the Mars defenders' assault. Her dreadnought emerged from the asteroid belt like a shark from murky waters, its advanced weapons tearing through the crystalline supply ship before the aliens could raise their shields. 3 more supply vessels detected on approach vector, reported her tactical officer. "They're maintaining standard formation, no deviation." Minji smiled grimly. The Vaxeri's rigid adherence to their geometric patterns made them predictable. While their main fleet engaged Earth's defenders near Jupiter, their supply lines followed fixed routes through the asteroid belt, never adapting their course despite repeated attacks. "Bring us behind that large nickel-iron asteroid," she ordered. "Charge the sonic disruptors. Time to add more crystals to the belt." The Mars defender moved with surprising grace for its size, using minimal thrust to avoid detection. Through her neural link, Minji felt every slight adjustment, every power fluctuation as her ship slipped between the tumbling space rocks. Across the solar system, similar battles rage. Near Jupiter, Commander Sun Wu's Terra's Vengeance led 3 other dreadnoughts in a complex dance with the main Vaxeri fleet. The human ships used the gas giant's powerful gravity to sling themselves at impossible angles, striking from directions the geometrically minded aliens never expected. Multiple hits on Vaxeri capital ship came the report from Jupiter. Pacific Wrath reports successful disruption of their formation. Near Mercury, 2 more human dreadnoughts played a deadly game of hide-and-seek with Vaxeri pursuers. They ducked in and out of the sun's corona, their advanced shields protecting them, while the intense radiation confused the crystal ship's sensors. "Target lock achieved," Minji's weapons officer announced. "Supply ships entering optimal range." Minji synchronized with her crew through the neural interface, feeling their combined focus sharpen to a razor's edge. "Fire sonic disruptors, full spread. Follow up with quantum torpedoes." The Mars defenders' new weapons produced no visible beam. Instead, they transmitted precise frequencies that set up devastating resonance patterns in the Vaxeri ship's crystalline structure. The effect was spectacular. The alien vessels literally sang themselves apart, breaking into countless glittering shards. Direct hits. All 3 targets destroyed. The bridge crew's celebration was cut short by a new alert. "Multiple Vaxeri warships breaking from the main fleet," Tactical reported. "They're finally changing their supply route." "Took them long enough," Minji muttered. "Signal the Saturn group. Tell them the fish are heading their way." Hidden within Saturn's rings, 3 more human dreadnoughts waited. The ice and rock debris provided perfect cover for their ambush. The Vaxeri, despite their advanced technology, never seemed to consider that their enemies would use natural phenomena as tactical advantages. Minji brought the Mars defender deeper into the asteroid belt, preparing for another strike. Through the neural interface, she monitored communications from across the solar system. The battle was far from over, but humanity's unconventional tactics were proving effective. Near Venus, the Southern Cross executed a slingshot maneuver that would have killed an unaugmented crew, using the planet's gravity to accelerate to incredible speeds before unleashing its weapons on a passing Vaxeri squadron. "Status report from Earth Command," her communications officer announced. "Oxygen levels are stabilizing. The remaining harvester ships have been driven off or destroyed." It was the first good news they'd had in hours. The Vaxeri fleet was vast, but they were fighting with one arm tied behind their back. They needed Earth's oxygen intact, which limited their tactical options. New contacts. Tactical's warning cut through the moment of relief. 5 Vaxeri battleships on intercept course. They've adapted their formation. Minji studied the approaching ships through her neural link. The aliens had finally broken their precious geometric patterns, spreading out to prevent easy targeting. So they can learn, she mused. Good. It was getting boring. All hands, prepare for close combat. Let's show them how humans fight when the gloves come off. The Mars Defender powered up its engines, ready to demonstrate once again why humanity had survived countless disasters throughout their history. They were adaptable, creative, and absolutely refused to give up, even against overwhelming odds. The battle for Sol raged on, turning the solar system into a vast battlefield where human ingenuity faced off against alien power. And despite the odds, despite the Vaxeri's superior numbers and technology, humanity was holding its own. Because in the end, it wasn't the strongest species that survived. It was the one most capable of adaptation. And humans had been adapting and overcoming challenges since they first looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. Now those stars were their battlefield, and they were proving that sometimes the best technology was no match for sheer determination and the ability to think outside the box, or in this case, outside the crystal. Earth's orbit had become a battlefield unlike any in human history. The 12 human dreadnoughts faced off against the remaining Vaxeri fleet, their massive forms silhouetted against the blue marble of humanity's homeworld. The Vaxeri High Marshal's flagship dominated the alien formation, its crystalline structure dwarfing even the largest harvester ships. Commander Sunwoo stood on the Terra's Vengeance's bridge, studying the enemy fleet through both visual displays and her neural interface. The past weeks of battle had taught them much about their adversaries, including their greatest secret. All ships report ready, Lieutenant Ji Hu announced. Weapons charge, shields at maximum. But Sunwoo had seen enough death. The pieces of the puzzle had finally come together. The desperate harvesting of oxygen, the crystalline ships that seemed to breathe, the way the Vaxeri themselves seemed to shimmer with internal light. Open a channel to their flagship, she ordered. All frequencies, all languages we've decoded. They're responding. Communications reported with surprise. The High Marshal himself. The alien leader appeared on their main screen, his translucent form pulsing with internal light that seemed dimmer than when they first appeared. Sunwoo noticed the subtle signs of deterioration in his crystalline structure. Your resistance has been impressive, humans, the High Marshal spoke, his translator conveying a mix of exhaustion and resignation. But it ends today. We cannot leave without your oxygen. We know why you need it. Sunwoo replied calmly. Your home system's star is dying. Its radiation no longer sustains the photosynthetic processes that keep your crystalline forms alive. You need oxygen to survive. The High Marshal's internal light flickered, the equivalent of a surprised blink. How did you? We've been studying your technology since 1976, Sunwoo explained. Our scientists finally understood why your ships and bodies incorporate living crystal that processes oxygen like our plants do. But there's something you don't know. She nodded to her science officer, who transmitted a data packet to the Vaxeri flagship. We've developed a synthetic alternative, a way to maintain your crystalline structures without stealing oxygen from living worlds. The High Marshal studied the data, his internal light pulsing rapidly as he processed the information. This is possible. Why would you share this with us after what we've done? Because humans understand desperation, Sunwoo replied. We understand doing whatever it takes to survive. But we also understand that survival doesn't have to come at the cost of others' lives. Through the neural interface, Sunwoo felt her crew's tension, their fingers hovering over weapon controls. Everything hinged on this moment. We're offering you a choice, she continued. We can fight here, today. Many will die on both sides. Or we can work together. Your technology combined with our adaptability. We can help save your people, and in return, you can help us reach the stars. Minutes passed in tense silence as the High Marshal consulted with his advisors. Finally, he turned back to the screen. Your species continues to surprise us. We had dismissed you as primitives, yet you developed weapons that could harm our ships. We thought you simple savages, yet you solved a problem that has plagued our scientists for generations. The Vaxari ships began powering down their weapons. One by one, their hostile targeting signals disappeared from the human Dreadnought sensors. Perhaps, the High Marshal continued, we have much to learn from each other. The war ended not with the thunder of weapons, but with the quiet opening of docking bays. As human scientists boarded the Vaxari flagship to share their breakthrough, engineers from both species began working together to adapt the synthetic oxygen processors for the alien ships. Within months, Earth had gained access to advanced space travel technology, while the Vaxari received the means to save their civilization. The first joint human-Vaxari expedition departed for the stars within a year, carrying the hope of both species. Commander Sunwoo watched from the Terra's Vengeance as the new ships launched, their hybrid designs incorporating the best of both worlds, human innovation and Vaxari crystal technology. Did you ever think it would end like this? Lieutenant Jihu asked, standing beside her at the viewport. Sunwoo smiled, watching the ships disappear into the darkness of space. Humans have always been at their best when facing impossible odds. But our greatest strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to turn enemies into friends. The stars beckoned, no longer distant and unreachable. Humanity had proven itself ready to join the galactic community, not through conquest or submission, but through understanding and cooperation. The dawn of a new era had begun.